Hello and welcome to Mari's Golden Hour. So there is, I think, some sort of a block party going on. I'm not too sure if it was a protest or a block party. I don't know. I heard somebody on a megaphone while I was busy doing other things, and I couldn't actively listen. But it sounded like somebody was shouting some things, but not in anger, just in dictating something or reading a speech or informing them of something. I don't know what was going on. But then afterwards, they started playing music, and it just sounded like everybody was having a good time and having a party. And it started off with salsa, and I was trying to do my best to concentrate on the work I was doing instead of going to check it out. But it sounded fun. And then ended up moving into playing Zap, and I think, I can't be sure, but moving on from Zap's More Bounce to the Ounce, it went into, I think, Lisa and Cult Jam. I'm not too sure, but it kind of sounded like it was like one of those Art LeBeau radio show hours, or like we were on one of those like old school cruise ship jams, but it sounded fun, whatever was going on. So you may or may not hear that in the background, who knows, but just explaining that. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for those who have popped in from time to time, either checking out the podcast and or the YouTube channel, which is also Mari's Golden Hour. So I will post occasional videos on that along with the podcast, and so thank you for hanging out. So people have sent me videos and clips, and one of the videos I checked out, a friend sent, and they weren't too sure if I like gospel music or not, and I enjoy all music, and even the ones that I'm not actively into that genre on any regular basis, I still appreciate that music. And I'm trying to remember, it was not when the Saints go marching in, but it was when the Saints go to worship. And I listened to it, and I was just going to have it playing in the background while I was busy doing other things, but then I ended up stopping and listening to it, and I don't know, I got into it. I rather liked it, and then the more I listened to it, the more it got me kind of emotional, and had me thinking of my mom, and then I almost started bawling right then and there, but I don't know if I got moved by the Holy Spirit, His Spirit, the choir spirit, my own spirit, mom's spirit. I don't know, but it was, I don't know, it was moving. And so thank you for people who have sent video recommendations. And so reminders about fun music to check out. Hot Burrito number 1. I believe I mentioned it before. It's by the Flying Burrito Brothers. That is worth getting into, and just having that on is that fun jam to have playing on in the background. I mean, not fun like woo, but just, I don't know, decent music to listen to. What else did I check out? Kat Graham, she posted a video, and I'm trying to remember, I think it's through Vogue magazine, but she posted a video about her natural hair beauty routine. And I checked it out because I don't know if you are familiar, or any of you guys are familiar with who Kat Graham is, but she played Bonnie Bennett in the Vampire Diaries that was on the CW. And I know if you've seen it or if you haven't seen it, as most of you know, a lot of that CW programming is geared towards a certain audience, but I find shows on that station fun. One of my favorites, of course, is Supernatural. But anyway, so on that show, whether you're familiar with it or not, Kat Graham's character on that show does not sport a natural hairstyle at all. And so when I saw Kat Graham natural hair beauty routine, I'm like, I don't recall her having natural hair, but let's check this out because I do have natural hair. And it was an interesting video. It was informative, at least for me. But something that I found moving is that in the middle of this, she was talking about her hairstylist, and I think she was either working on that show or something else, or a video, some project, and the hairstylist handed her this product. And it was, or it is, for natural hair, and I think Kat just blew it off. But it turns out that she ended up using it and needing it because she was wearing her hair natural. And she mentioned how she's never had to do her hair, and just her circumstances growing up, and that led up to her not ever needing to do her hair, which I thought, part of me was, I don't want to say judging or eye rolling, but it's the best way I can describe it. I don't want to, well, I don't want to come off as that harsh, but my internal dialogue was not that harsh, or at least I like to think that. Maybe that's just my ego coming through, but yeah, but for lack of, I guess, better words, eye rolling and like, hey, must be nice to have somebody else doing your hair all your life, or having that team around you, or having that privilege of having that job that affords that lifestyle of being able to have somebody else do your hair. But then on the flip, it's like, well, having somebody do your hair like that all the time, and all the work that goes into having your hair not be natural, that's not necessarily good. And I think she was also coming to that realization during her time in quarantine, and that showed by when she was filming this video. She had a moment, and some people would actually, hit pause or edit the unflattering parts out, and she left that in. And I don't know if that was her like choosing to be vulnerable and just allowing that to remain. I don't know if she didn't have control over the editing. I'd like to think that she did, but who knows? I don't know her. I don't know the circumstances around filming these things for Vogue. Maybe one day I will. Who knows? But so I wonder if that's her making that choice, or if that's just something that we're all finding ourselves in, that, a lot of these pretenses, it's kind of bull. It's kind of BS. It's not like people don't know how we all really live, or that, it's not that, when we look at people or places, things, for example, you're looking at a TV show, I'd like to think a lot of us know that that person does not wear makeup 24/7 in real life. That people do not wake up looking camera ready as soon as they get up out of bed. Most of us, if not all of us, look like, we don't look pretty. We don't have minty fresh breath as soon as we wake up. So, but I don't know. I thought that was interesting, just watching her be vulnerable and just rolling with that and sharing her experience of her dealing with her hair and not trying to fit into any box, and talking about having to fit in that box because of her profession, and maybe the people that she's working with. And I have, I think I read other articles, or maybe I sussed out some of the things that she was going through by reading between the lines on some articles about her. But anyway, I thought that was a really good video to watch, and it served as reminders for me on many different levels. Like, number one, you don't know what somebody else has gone through, so don't be so quick to judge, and you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you. and just in picking up tips on like, oh, she used that product, let me check that product out and see if it works for me. Because, you know, that's what we do. That's what a lot of us ladies do. It's what a lot of people do in general. We check out other stuff, and if it works for us, we try to pass that along. Or it becomes our, like, secret weapon that we use. I just check that out. I found it endearing and helpful, and I empathized, and so I send that gratitude out to her as appreciation. I honestly doubt she'll hear of this, know about it in any way, shape, or form, but check that out, and just virtually send her that love. Another article I read about is kind of scary. It's about the death screams of bacteria, and I don't know, I'm trying to remember if it was like all bacteria or just particular research that this researcher did, but it was interesting that I guess this particular study, and I can't remember who conducted it, if it was on certain bacteria. Sorry, I should have taken better notice of this, but anyway, the article was about this bacteria that when it dies, it sends out this death scream. And the other bacteria hear this death scream, and they know not to go into that area because it'll mean, curtains for them as well. So they either avoid that, or they take over or try to cover the good bacteria or the good drugs or whatever that is that's trying to combat that bad bacteria. They try to cover that up or cover up that cell to prevent it from doing its good work. So I don't know, just reading this article, it was like, ooh, creepy. I'm sure if you do a Google search, and just really for anything else I bring up, if I don't go into detail about where to find it, just pop in the buzzwords and I'm sure you'll find it. Another friend, actually it's the same friend that I shared the bacteria, the death scream with. He was telling me about donuts, and I cannot remember if I brought up donuts first or if we were chatting about something else, but he mentioned a couple of good donut places, and they sounded extremely yummy. Or maybe he mentioned that because I was trying to find a donut place that I came across. It was donuts that I was treated to on a job that I worked, and I am not too sure exactly where they got the donuts from because they were in one of those generic pink pastry boxes, and so it didn't come with like the company logo on it, and I never thought to ask, and I took it for granted because I knew that they would be there most, if not all, the weekends that I happened to show up. So I took it for granted, and I didn't bother asking. And I also tried to avoid the donuts the first couple times that they were given as a nice little complimentary pick-me-up. And but then I caved one day because I didn't have breakfast, and man, I had that donut, and it was like, oh yes. So a couple of places that he mentioned was what was it? Donut Friend and Blue Star Donuts. And I know the Blue Star Donuts, they're based in Portland, but they have franchised out. I don't know how widespread they are. Same with Donut Friend. But I, instead of going directly to the website, I checked out the reviews just so I can find out, all right, what do they serve? How do people really feel about it? Because, you can see a review on the home web page, and you don't know how many of those they've sifted through and just put in the good ones. I want to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and make that decision for myself of whether I want to go or not. And both of them look great. And so then I kind of got into that donut war. Well, not a donut war, but just like mentioning donut places that I've been to that were really good. And one of them, the one that sticks out for me, and I have yet to go back and have it again, is I can't remember if I was visiting a friend of mine in Houston, if I just had like a short layover or a long layover. I can't remember, but I was in Houston and I was at their airport, and I had the time that I had, I missed breakfast and I needed something to eat, and I was just going to get coffee, but I decided, let me get coffee and I'll just grab a quick donut. And the place is called Shipley's Donuts, and they are based in Houston, Texas. And man, woo, that stuff was good. And it's just something about the particular yeast that they use, but it is just excellent. And the other one that I like is called Voodoo Donuts, which they are based in Portland. And they have all these crazy concoctions of donuts that just, some of them, they're so crazy I can't even bother checking them out because of all the sugar that's in it. And it just sounds too sweet. But, and I'm a sucker just for, give me the plainest donut possible. Like, I am happy with a glazed donut. However, I don't like all the glaze that's on it. Like, give me a quarter or half of the glaze that's on a glazed donut, and I'm happy. But I do like the donuts that have some sort of a weird twist to it. Same with ice cream, too. Like, if it has, like, a concoction, like, I don't know, like a basil and vinaigrette with strawberries and mint, you know, something crazy like that, I will jump on it and try it. So moving on to things that are sweet, I read somewhere that the Powerpuff Girls are going to have some sort of a live action series. I don't know if they're in talks about that, if that is a go, but I don't know how that'll work. I don't know if it'll have the same sort of magic that the cartoon did. I doubt it because it's live action, but maybe it'll have its own magic. I don't know. Don't want to poo-poo it without seeing it, but just letting you know, that's out there. And, let's see. Along with that, I read and saw images of some morbid things that are out there, but, I think we see enough of that in day-to-day, so I'm just going to gloss over, because it's real-life stuff, and even like the thing that really sticks out. I mean, thankfully it had a happy ending, but it started off like kind of. I'll just say that it's stuff that we've seen in movies, and stuff that we've seen in movies. But it had a happy ending. But man, it's just one of those like fears that you come across, and it's like, oh my god, I hope that doesn't happen to me or happen to anybody. I read their Busch beer, or Anheuser-Busch beer. They have come up with a beer for dogs. Now, in a way, I'm a little surprised that this hasn't popped up before, but it has now. And maybe it did pop up before, but they just didn't quite perfect it, or they had that concept and just tabled it. But now, with things being slowed down in a forced way, they're like, you know what, let's revisit that. And so they've come up with a beer for dogs that's it's a broth-based dog brew, and I guess they did it so if you felt like drinking beer with your puppy or with your dog, you can do so. So I don't know what people were doing before this. I don't know if they were just giving their animal real, actual beer and thinking that that's cute and funny. But, a lot of the stuff, like feeding dogs human food and human beverages, even though, yes, they will willingly, happily eat it, it's not necessarily good for your dog. So keep that in mind, please. But something that's a broth-based beer, I guess, for your dog, with your dog in mind, I guess I'll chalk that up with like the cake that you can have for your dog that is specifically made for a dog, with ingredients made for dogs and not necessarily for people. So as long as it's good for the doggy to ingest, I'm all for it. Music that I checked out, there's a lot of it, but one that stands out, I just randomly stumbled across this. The band is called Red Velvet, and the song is called Psycho. and I just listened to this non-stop. Number one, the song drew me in, but number two, the video drew me in. And apparently there's two. The one that drew me in, and I was watching it over and over and over again, it's the performance video for Psycho. And it's sort of like what would be like the B-roll footage for the original video, which, it's just the regular music video for the song Psycho, where you have, all your images, and visually, both of them are great. Visually, both of them are stunning. The band is stunning, the imagery is great, the choreography is great, the fashion, like just all of it is just great. I loved it, and I am sucked in, and I'm there for it. The performance video, I just could not stop watching because I was just mesmerized by whoever the choreographer was for this video. Just kudos to you. And but check them out. It's Psycho by Red Velvet. What else did I check out? Randomly saw a video with I guess Jason Momoa. I don't know if he's did it. I don't know what, but Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet are featured in this, and it's called My Wife's First Mustang, and it is him just taking that Mustang and getting it restored. And I don't know, I got sucked in and I watched it, couldn't stop watching it, and the way that it was shot, just great, visually stunning. And between looking at just this one image of Lenny Kravitz feeding his dogs at his place in Brazil, which he was just looking all kinds of yummy, and then watching this video of Lisa Bonet and Jason Momoa, Lenny Kravitz, Lisa Bonet, number one, Lisa Bonet was just already cool. She was the coolest Cosby Kid, the coolest in a different world, and just cool, and just maintain that cool vibe throughout her life. And then moved on to cool with Lenny Kravitz getting hooked up with her, and it's wow, two beautiful, super cool people in one unit. What? And even when they had the divorce, there was just nothing negative about that. I'm sure, because you never know what happens behind closed doors, but as far as what they projected, the imagery that was out there for everybody to see, I honestly don't recall any sort of negative anything about that. And then even with Jason Momoa, that whole thing, and which could be interpreted because I guess he had the biggest crush on her and was a super fan, and he married the object of his desires, and none of it was creepy, or at least never came off that way, and it easily could. But I don't know, these people, that family, just all of it, just cool, and it's man, all of you guys just dripping with coolosity. I love it. The other video I randomly came across, what was it? I think the show, or maybe the programming, is Nuke With Me, microwave nuking. And the episode is called Marlon Makes Eggplant Parmesan, and it's something that's done through Thrillist. And, gosh, I do not know how I came across it, but I did. And it was fun. It was kind of fun to watch. And, it's not Oscar-winning stuff, but the guy that does this show, I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's really a chef or a guy who cooks on the side, if he's an actor, and this is just one of his characters. I have no idea, but I got into it, and I was kind of sucked in. So, Marlon Makes Eggplant Parmesan. If you're curious, go ahead and check that out. The program, or the series, I guess, maybe it's called Nuke With Me. I don't know much about this. Another one I came across randomly. The video, it's called Inside an Amazing Home. They thought of everything, and it's done through Golden Eagle log cabin, or timber homes, something like that. Again, just plug in these things. I was only going to watch the first like 30 seconds or maybe a minute of it, but wow, I got sucked in, and I just chalked that up to what I was looking at. The host or the salesman or spokesperson, whoever this guy is, he is worth whatever it is that they are paying him, because I stayed riveted to this video from beginning to end, and I think it was done in 6 parts. I watched all of them. I could not help myself, and plus it's like, oh, well, I want to see the rest of the house now. What exactly did they do? What are the finishing touches? And so I watched that, and then, went to that rabbit holing that a lot of us do when we start watching some of these videos, no matter what the source is. And so then I started, because I'm watching some of this house stuff because I am trying to come up with a little bit of inspiration to change things up and figure out storage and what to get rid of and what to keep and what to put to the side and, just all that stuff. Again, like I think a lot of other people are, and just trying to be creative in how I go about it. So I was, looking at and reading articles about the tiny homes and, looking at before and after photos and looking at the tiny houses and looking at these RV renovations and again, not all of these are videos. Some of them are just photos or they're articles, but definitely photos because you do need to see the before and after. Or if it is an article, just going into another website and plugging in those words just to see what images they're talking about, and getting inspiration from that. But the fun one, it's called House Hunters, and it's comedians on couches. That is good. Really, really good. Check that out. And I do remember seeing House Hunters when I did have cable. And I since have gotten away from cable just because, and I've been away from cable for a while now, but it's only because I feel like I would just watch way too much TV and not want to go out ever. So, and I opted to get rid of cable in order to have a social life. And yes, this is back when we all had social lives. But this, I'm trying to remember the comedians it's hosted by. It's Natasha Leggero and Dan Levy, I think. I'm pretty sure those are the two. And so they bring on a comedian to have them host the show with them. And all that they're doing, all of them are watching episodes of House Hunters and critiquing it. And the whole premise is that, they're just doing it and saying all the things that we have said when we're looking at all these shows. And it, we've all done it, even if it's a game show, knowing that answer and not understanding why does that person not know the answer? It is so easy. Or, why would they pick those ingredients to choose with? I would have chosen XYZ because either you've made it before or you can just obviously see because, when you have that bird's eye view of something, easy to see all that stuff, but in the moment, it's very hard. Especially if it's live, I can only imagine. So, but even though this is a recorded show, and, I'm sure they can do all kinds of things with editing, they did say something at some point. I feel like they've gotten inspiration in some kind of way from, it could have been maybe some other little side or snarky comment that was made by one of the spouses. and maybe they just took that little thread and they ran with it in editing. But regardless, it's fun to watch. And I've only seen a few of the episodes, and I'm trying to remember the first one. First one, if you decide to at least follow my path and give this thing a chance, much like I did. The first one I saw was Birdhouse, or looks like a birdhouse. Again, I'm sure if you popped in House Hunters, Comedians on Couches, Birdhouse, you'll see that episode. And then the next one, trying to remember, I think it was this couple in Atlanta which, wow, that one was like, it was so good. Like, I wanted to get out my snacks, like just have some good popcorn and have a beverage and really just get in, because the couples themselves, or not couples, but couple, it was a gay couple, or still is, I'd like to think. Hopefully they are, in Atlanta. And, there was like a little like bug that was like, hey, how are you doing? But they were just, you wondered, are they going to stay together? Is this thing going to last? Are they going to break up before this episode is over with? Are they going to really get a house? Because it just took you like on a roller coaster. And honestly, like, I would have loved it if this couple did 2 more episodes of House Hunters. It was that good. And so, I'm trying to remember what it was titled. Like, I think if you, again, popped in the buzzwords for this show and then put in, Atlanta couple. And then the other one I saw was, this couple in Florida. And I can't remember what it was called. I don't know if it's Ballers or if it's Florida or Swimming Pool, but it's something along those lines. And that one, in all these episodes, they're hosted by a different comedian, or maybe they've gone through like a bunch of these, and maybe they do like the 2 episodes and it's the same comedian, or they switch it up. I don't know how it's done. I haven't seen like every single episode, but that one was with JB Smoove. And yeah, these are funny, and you will either laugh at what the comedians are saying, maybe even laugh at something that you're thinking, and then the comedians say it, or just laughing at the couples themselves, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that, or they said it, and maybe they said something funny, but definitely get into it. And something that I'd like to think that everybody is aware of at this point is the unfortunate and very, well, maybe sudden to us, but maybe not so sudden to the family, but the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And when I saw that, I was wondering if I read correctly, because I was like looking at some other video, checking something out, and then what popped up in the feed was actually it was somebody else's video that said remembering Chadwick Boseman, and it was a live stream that was going on of somebody else's podcast. I think it was that guy that did Clerks, Kevin Smith, his Batman podcast. I know I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's where they just talk about comics and superheroes and all that stuff. Him and his partner, they go into that. But so I didn't look at the podcast itself, but when I saw it as just part of the things to check out, and this is what's going on right now, I just read the title of it, and I was like, what? Remembering that Chadwick Boseman? I was confused, but it was a live stream. I'm like, wait, please no. And so I clicked on it I was kind of hoping I was wrong, and maybe there's several Chadwick Bosemans. And I listened to, I think, maybe like a few seconds of it, and unfortunately, yeah. And so I ended up going to a news feed, and I didn't see anything. And then it was like something that was down at the bottom, because all I was seeing was like just stuff from earlier that morning or that day. And I'm like, all right, if Chadwick Boseman passed away, why am I not seeing this like all over the place? And then I scrolled towards the bottom, and it was an article that was written like 2 hours prior. And unfortunately, yeah, what I had hoped was not true was. And so that it was heartbreaking, of course, and I just, that made me sad, and, just going through what, my family, me, sorry for the bad grammar, what we've already gone through, months earlier, and then just the pandemic, and, what's going on in our country and even globally. It's like, man, that too now? And I know I'm not the only one who have attached this great thing that he and the cast of Black Panther have done, and what that meant for people who look like me, the women who look like me, the men who are my same complexion and of my heritage, and just what that meant for us. It was a lot, and it still is a lot, and even just seeing some of the images of him visiting children in the hospital, and even though he did not have the Black Panther suit on, you just felt that radiating through. And even if he wasn't embodying that, like having Black Panther in mind, you could just feel that is what was received by these children. Even in just looking at a photo of the child, you can just tell, like, that is what they are getting from this great man. And you could tell that is what that movie meant to them, what he meant to them, what the female actresses who were in that movie meant. And just to see that representation of all those beautiful brown people on the big screen. A lot of people do not understand how big that is, what a huge deal that is, and what a huge deal that still is. And to lose somebody like that now, it's just heartbreaking. And I almost want to tear up even just talking about it, because my mind has already been on that wave, and just in my day to day and losses felt, but that just. And then the particular article that I saw when I first discovered this last night, reading on, and the thing that stuck out, I mean, among his body of work and the Black Panther and that whole movement and what that meant for us, he talked about his time of, and I don't know, this might be old hat, but I'm still going to talk about it because I'm just moved by it. But how he was fired from a job on TV, and it was for speaking his mind. And he is not the first person who has gotten fired as a black person speaking their mind on something or speaking their truth, or not even speaking their truth when it comes to race, just for even questioning something that's in the script, or maybe asking for the same things that the co-star is asking for and being reprimanded for it. But in this case with Chadwick Boseman, it was on a soap opera, and he never stated which soap opera it was. He wasn't naming names or throwing anybody under the bus. He was still respectful, and he didn't have to be, but he rose above that. And it was a soap opera that he was hired for, and I believe he was on it for either one episode or possibly 2 episodes. He was reading the character and had his own thoughts about it, and apparently the producers, he got tapped to, come back and talk with the producers, and had this meeting with them. And they were just showering him with praise and going on and on and on about what a great job he was doing. And he thanked them, and they said, if you ever need anything, if you want to discuss things, please do, open door, just all that stuff. So he's like, oh, okay, well, great. Seeing as how they said I could talk to them about anything, he said he had questions about the character. And I can't remember the questions that he asked, but they were very simple, and it was about this character that, and I wish I could remember what exactly he said and what was about the character, but it was something that was stereotypical, and being from the inner city and not having a dad. And just the violence that he had, and I can't remember if he had a gun or maybe he was going to shoot somebody or murder somebody. I don't know what, but so Chadwick brought up very understandable questions like, well, why does he not have a father? Or either he asked why, or where are his parents? And then he said, oh, well, his father left and they're off in jail. And he's like, okay, why would he act this way? Or, something like about the character, and maybe something that was said. And they said, oh, well, that's obvious. The mother's a heroin addict, and, that's the reason why. Like, that's so obvious. And he said, okay, well, if the father's not dead, or, whatever it was, he said, well, if this is not that, then why can't we, maybe he has a job and he sees the error of his ways, and, because to me this is very stereotypical, and, he saw the character maybe going someplace with it, and maybe having some sort of redeeming quality, and so they're like, and according to the way that either he described it, it was the way that Chadwick Boseman described it, is like what he was saying. It's almost like he confused the producers. Like, they gave pause and they're like, okay. Like they didn't understand either why he brought these things up. They didn't understand a character, this quote unquote stereotypical black character, having redeeming qualities, or they just could not see beyond to having this character who they, I guess, demonized and had, pretty much having a thumb down on this character, and having that character not go anywhere, not have an arc in any way, and just be this bad guy. They were just like, okay, well, thanks, hey, thank you for coming in, and that was it. And then soon after that, he got fired. Now, I don't know how quick that turnaround was. I don't know if they had him shoot one more scene, and then they just wrote him out, or they just canned him, like, that day or the next day. I don't know, but it was with the quickness. And then, as I understand it, Michael B. Jordan, he got hired for it, and for the same character. And so Chadwick Boseman didn't look at that as, I'm not sure, maybe he did look at it as like a negative thing, but he took it as he spoke up for himself. He easily could have stayed in that role, and I believe he said that he was getting a 6-figure salary for that TV role. But he brought up that question of, well, why are they this way? He felt that was a stereotypical role, and that was something that he just did not want to do. He didn't want this stereotypical role to be played in that light. And there's no reason for it to be. And yeah, if they're supposed to be a bad guy, great, but, find the article, read it, and if you can't find that particular article, I'm sure that somebody, many bodies have written on this topic, but, so in another article, I guess when Michael B. Jordan was talking about it, he said that he had the same questions that Chadwick Boseman did, but ended up just still continuing to portray the character. And I don't know if, like, maybe at some point, Michael B. Jordan, he got tired of that role, or he later on brought up this stereotype, and maybe they wrote him out, or he stayed with it. I don't know. I don't know what happened with it, but the focus now, I mean, it's about Chadwick Boseman, but I appreciated just that and what he did, and there was something so eloquent about either what the reporter wrote on this, whoever wrote this article, or what Chadwick Boseman said, that this is what all these actors, before him and then afterwards, this is what we do. Like, we bring up these questions, do these roles, so that somebody else doesn't have to. And, that's what it was. So he brought up the stereotypes of this character. The producers fired him from this role. They weren't having it. But then Michael B. Jordan gets hired for this role. And what they did, they ended up tweaking the character a little bit more, like tweaking it into the direction of Chadwick Boseman's suggestions. And so that way, Michael B. Jordan didn't have to portray what was originally given to Chadwick Boseman. And so Sidney Poitier did this. Lena Horne did this. We can go as far back in cinema history and TV history as we need to. And even up to present day, that there are a lot of roles that maybe they hired somebody else in mind, but they questioned and they got fired. But then either maybe they realize the error of their ways, or they're like, oh yeah, that is a good suggestion, and they'll take that idea for their own. And but then they see that with the retweaks, that character becomes a better character. It's more fleshed out. Just having that extra backstory. And there are so many people that poo-pooed Black Panther. These are these producers, these top executives that are like, oh, well, having black leads will not sell. That won't sell in this country. That won't sell overseas. Nobody wants to see that. And obviously they were proven wrong by how much money was raked in at the box office. I don't know. And, and they can see this even in cable television and how well that does, how well a lot of that programming does. HBO, Showtime, you can name it. Or any of these cable TV programs where they don't have these restrictions. They're able to have real people that we see out on the streets, people that do not all look like models. They are not all white. They are not all tall and skinny with blue eyes, or there are people that have layers. They have messy backstories. Maybe they have messy families. And I have not seen Shameless, or the one that's in the UK or the US version. I haven't seen any of those shows, but from what I gather, it seems like they have messy families. And it's not about it being, oh, it's an all-white family, so we, they don't have anybody of color. Sometimes it is that, but not everybody is squeaky clean. Everybody's messy. Everybody has some messy about them. It's like somewhere in their lives, whether that's in the past, it's currently, maybe it's you personally, maybe it's family, maybe it's friends, but we all have messy. It's not all clean. And then if we look outside, not everybody looks like everybody else. And you're going to see people of all different heights, different ethnic backgrounds, different sizes, wearing different clothing, different hairstyles. That's the world. And for us not to see the world represented on TV and in film, in our media, come on now. And I get, yes, there will always be niche things for everybody. And it's not to say that you can't have an all Eastern Indian cast, an all black cast, an all Native American cast, an all white cast, an all Asian cast, Japanese, Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese. We can see all that. But we can also see this mixed up. Let's have some diversity in there. We can see it all. You know, we don't need to see the homogenous nature that we've seen at the Oscars. Even after all that hashtag business, it seemed like it all reverted back to the same old, didn't it? Even at last year's, it's like, oh, here we go. All right. But anyway, so I am saddened, and I feel for that family, and, you know, I know what you're going through. I get it, and I understand, and my heart goes out. So, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, rest in power, and thank you for the work that you shared with the world, with all of us. So thank you, and Wakanda Forever. And thank you, everybody, for sticking this out and listening to me go on and on and on. Thank you for checking out the podcast wherever you happen to catch it, whether it is on my YouTube channel, which is Mari's Golden Hour, same thing. I do have videos that I will post up on occasion, so feel free to chime in. Yeah, sorry, my mind is just all over the place, and I'm still kind of feeling a little funky, so it's been a funky day. It's been one of those slight little roller coaster days. Not quite Big Dipper, not quite corkscrew, but maybe it's that Carney level of oh, it's the Lego roller coaster feeling. Because the ones that are at Legoland, you know, Legoland, I don't say whatever it is you want to say about Legoland, but Legoland is made for little ones, the little tykes. It's like their introduction into an amusement park, and it's cute and it's fun. But if you want edgy and crazy, Legoland is not going to give that to you. But it is going to give you that nice, wholesome fun that's not going to be terribly dangerous. So that's the kind of day that I had. So we had its little dips and valleys and potholes and dips and whatnot, but it wasn't anything that can't be handled or overcome. But the dips just kind of left me in a little funky place. So thank you for hanging out and sticking with me on it. And on that note, I'm just going to say thank you. I am very grateful to you, and enjoy your golden hour. Peace.